Hey everybody, it's Innovision! Recently, we've been getting a lot of questions about the official SteamOS beta's performance on the Lenovo Legion Go. Also, we've gotten a lot of questions on how to install the official SteamOS beta on your Legion Go. In today's video, we'll walk you through from start to finish on how to install the official SteamOS beta on your Lenovo Legion Go. We'll show you how to create a SteamOS recovery media. We'll walk you through the full installation process. We'll provide you with a workaround for the corrupt bootloader issue that causes your Legion Go to get stuck on the Legion screen after the first boot, after the first update gets downloaded. We'll show you how to install and configure DeckyLoader plugins so you can configure things like TDP and performance settings. And by the end of the video, we'll share our thoughts on how you can stay on the beta and ride it all the way through to the release, which feels like it might not be that far away. Stick around, because you don't want to miss any of it. A quick call out before we get started. I just want to note that by performing the installation of the official SteamOS, it's going to completely erase all the files on your solid state drive and replace the files with the SteamOS installation. So before continuing, make sure you back up any important files, make sure it's something you want to do. You might even consider swapping out your solid state drive with another one. We have a video on the channel that shows you how to upgrade your solid state drive, and so you can actually follow that as a way to replace your solid state drive if it's something you haven't done so far. We're going to provide a link to that in the description. And I recommend you gather the following materials before you get started. You'll need a USB Type-C charging dock or hub. You can use the official Lenovo Legion Go dock, like the one we have here, or you can use a third-party one like this U-Green one that we have right here. Now, if you're a gamer who exclusively uses the Lenovo Legion Go and you don't have any other gaming handhelds or you don't have any other tablets, I would strongly recommend the official dock. If you're someone like me who has several handheld devices and tablets and things of that nature, I would recommend this U-Green dock. I find that it has a wide array of compatibility because it opens up and you can kind of fit it to whatever size device you have. I've even used this U-Green dock with the Lenovo Legion Go, the MSI Claw 8 AI, and the ROG Ally devices. And that's because you can actually fold it and adjust the spacing to whatever size your device is, and it can cradle it. And it's got several ports. It's even got an SD card reader on the side. What I also like about it is the cable that interfaces to your device is actually removable, so you can swap it out with a longer USB Type-C cable. But nothing fits it like a glove like the official Legion Go dock. So now that you've got a USB hub that can charge your Legion Go while you're doing the installation, I recommend a high quality USB flash media, and last but not least, a USB mouse and keyboard. So what I have here is my Logitech wireless mouse and keyboard setup. I recommend that, but if you have a hub that has enough ports on it, you can have both being wired mouse and keyboard if it's something that you have already laying around. In order to create our official SteamOS recovery media, we're going to have to download the Steam Deck repair image straight from Valve. And so we're using the 3.8.0 repair image. It's right here. I'll provide a link in the description of the video. So I already downloaded this because it takes a little while to download. The next thing we're going to want to download is this tool called Balena Etcher. I'm taking this from the perspective that you're coming from Windows and want to create your recovery media so you can boot into SteamOS. And so we'll click on this download link here, and it takes you to several different versions. We're going to take the Windows x86 x64 version, click download, and once it's done downloading, we'll click to open it, and it's going to present you with several different options. We're going to end up using this flash from file, but before we do that, we need to go ahead and decompress the repair image. So I'm just grabbing this Steam Deck image and I'm going to drop it back in my downloads folder. This will take just a few seconds. While that's happening, I'll go ahead and launch Balena Etcher again. Alright, now that our SteamOS recovery media has been extracted, I saved it in our downloads folder. I've already opened Balena Etcher, and I'm going to click this flash from file. We're going to go to downloads and select the Steam Deck repair image. I'm using this MMUC device here, and it's 32 gigs, but it shows up as 31.3, and it is my D drive. So you're going to want to make sure that you're flashing it to the correct drive, because you don't want to wipe the whatever other drive if you have multiple drives installed on your device. And now we're going to hit flash, and it's going to ask us for administrator privileges. And depending on the speed of your flash drive, I recommend using a USB 3 or better flash media, and make sure that the flash media is connected to a USB 3.0 or higher port. And so given the speed of the port and the speed of the flash memory is how long it's going to take to flash it. And so we've got a few minutes here. Now it's done flashing and verifying. We can eject the disk and you can close out a Balena etcher. Now that we've got a SteamOS recovery media, we're ready to go through the steps for configuring our Legion Go BIOS. Great, so we have all of our peripherals hooked up to our dock. Our dock is now hooked into our Legion Go, and it's charging it and providing data and connection all over a single cable to everything we're going to need. And so the first thing we're going to want to do is boot into the Legion Go's BIOS. You do this by holding the volume up key while pushing the power button. Once you've pressed the power button, you can let go, and I just leave my finger on the volume up key. It might not be necessary, but sometimes I've not left it on there long enough and I missed that critical point. But we'll be greeted with this BIOS setup option here, and that's what we're going to want to go into. Before we even pick our boot medium, we're going to want to go into BIOS setup, and there's a couple of settings that we're going to want to set up. The first and most important one is we want to disable secure boot. So you'll come over here on the left hand side, go into this security tab, click in there, and then go all the way down to secure boot enabled. Normally by default, if you're coming from Windows, this is enabled. So you'll click disabled. The other thing you want to do is go on the left hand side, go to the configuration tab, and scroll down till we see the UMA frame buffer size. We're going to pick auto here. You might have something else selected. I think the default's 3 gigs. We want auto. The other couple of settings that are important here, you have to go down to thermal mode. After a BIOS update, I think it's always set to balanced. We want custom here because we're going to use the Simple Decky TDP plugin to manually adjust our TDP. A couple other noteworthy options here. Make sure that the thermal policy is set to the STAPM. And I like to leave my memory bandwidth at 7500 megatransfers, and I like to use all 8 cores. Once that all looks good, go over to this left hand side here, hit exit, and then click again, exit saving changes. Now right before you hit yes here, go ahead and be holding the volume up button again when you boot up, so that way we can pick which device should boot first. Now that we've got our Legion Go's BIOS set up correctly, we're ready to boot off of our SteamOS media. In order to do that, again, we're going to hold the volume plus or volume up button, push the power button while leaving your finger on the volume up button, and then you'll be greeted with a white screen that says enter BIOS setup. You'll select that option, and then from there you'll be in the blue screen where you can then pick which drive to boot off of. Pay close attention to pick the drive that corresponds to your recovery media that we just created. Once you've put that as the topmost one in the list, go ahead and click save and exit. Now your Legion Go should start booting into SteamOS. Alright, so now it's booting into SteamOS using the recovery media. And so this is a live Linux distribution, meaning that it's actually running Linux with all the files installed on the flash drive itself. And then once you're booted and you're greeted with a desktop environment, you can use some tools to either recover your Steam Deck. Typically, in our case, it's the Legion Go, but we're going to use the same option that you would use to recover your Steam Deck. And this would format the hard drive completely. So please keep in mind, if you're going to try this, the SteamOS installer at the moment cannot be used to partition your hard drive and things like that. It's going to wipe the disk entirely and write the files to disk. So it's just something to keep in mind. I would recommend using another drive if you want to test this, or just back up your files if you're comfortable restoring everything afterwards if you don't like it. I think it's pretty fun though. Alright, so now we're in this desktop environment, and I highly recommend having a keyboard and mouse just to get things going during the setup. So I have with my dock, I have a wireless keyboard and mouse already hooked in with the dongle here. And so we're going to select this option right here, Re-Image Steam Deck. You'll double click on that, and it's saying okay, it's going to destroy all the data on the disk. That's fine. So we hit proceed. So what it's doing here is it's copying data from one of the partitions on the recovery media in 128 megabyte chunks and placing them on the NVMe SSD. You could actually do this manually, and so there might be a way to come up with some tricks and techniques to be able to create your own partition and then copy over the contents. It's kind of a lot of effort though, and it looks like it's almost done. Alright, so it's finished, and so now all we need to do is click proceed. And so for this step, go ahead and be holding your volume up button again, because we want to boot into the BIOS. We want to select to boot off of the SSD first. There's a problem with this installer. The first time you install it and boot into SteamOS, it's going to download some updates. These updates make it so SteamOS does not boot. And so, oh, there we go. So it already updated my BIOS to have the SteamOS as the default boot option. And so we're just going to go ahead and exit here. Alright, so we're in SteamOS and we're going to start setting things up. Now you can actually use the gamepad at this point to go ahead and select. In our case, I'm English and I'm in the United States. So go ahead and select your time zone. Go ahead and connect to your Wi-Fi network. And so now it's going to download some updates. And on the next boot, you're going to be stuck on the Legion logo. Nothing will happen, and we're going to show you what to do from there. So on the first boot after the update's installed, so this is our second time booting SteamOS, you're going to be stuck on this Legion logo on the screen. If you have a mouse and keyboard, you can go ahead and hit Control-Alt-Delete a couple times, which will cause the system to reboot. And as soon as it reboots, go ahead and start hitting the volume up button again so that we catch the BIOS options. Okay, so I'm holding volume up or volume plus. All right, and so here we're going to want to select BIOS setup, and we want the EFI USB device because that is where I installed my recovery media. It's the same recovery media we prepared earlier and we used to re-image the disk already. And so now we've selected it. We're going to go up here to hit exit, and then make sure you click save and exit. So we're back into this familiar desktop. So now we're going to select the reinstall SteamOS, not the re-image Steam Deck, but reinstall SteamOS. This is actually going to cause it to rewrite some of the system files and clear out some configuration. All right, so we'll go ahead and click proceed. Looks like it's basically overriding one of the partitions. Looks like the fourth partition on the first NVMe SSD device. And this will just take a couple minutes. All right, and it's done. We're just about done. And it's going to ask us to proceed to reboot the device. And yep, proceed. Alright, so I booted back into the BIOS right after doing that to change my boot order, but you technically after that last reboot you can just remove the USB media, but I don't like to remove it prematurely in case we end up needing it again. Alright, so we're going to hit save and exit. And now it's booting. And it might take it a minute or two to boot here. Give it a second. Alright, so it's about to actually run it. Yay! So we are in. We have to re-enable our Wi-Fi network. So now we can scan our QR code to log back into Steam. Alright, so this next step is very important if you don't want to have to keep using the recovery media to reinstall Steam Deck. So exit out of these things. Now by default, these buttons are not working here. But this would actually bring up the Steam, and then this would bring up your side menu. But you can hit the back button and then go down to settings. And then for system here, we're going to want to enable developer mode. Go ahead and click that. And then we're going to go all the way down to developer mode, and we're going to want to select the option show advanced update channels. So once that's ticked, we can go back into system. Don't install any updates yet. Let's pick our OS update channel to be main. And then now you can roll with the Steam Deck beta if you want, or you can stay on Steam Deck stable, but the most important thing is that the OS update channel is main here. So I would recommend go ahead and reboot at this point. As of the Steam client 3.7.3, they now have the controllers and the power button functioning. Alright, so let's go into settings here, go to system, and see we're on main and Steam Deck stable. Check for updates. And so it's showing the preview here. We're going to hit apply. Even though this update says that it's just for variable refresh rate, it's actually implementing the controller buttons so that this button will bring up this button will act as the Steam button, and this button will act as the additional side options that come up here in SteamOS that let you modify your TDP settings, screen brightness, things like that nature. And this update will make it so the power button will put it into hibernate, or if you long press it, you can select the option to restart and shut down or go into desktop mode. So I'm going to let it finish updating here. And now we can restart. Alright, so we're in. And now we can check that these side buttons are working. Look at that. It brings up the home, just like Steam button would on Steam Deck. And this one brings up our side options. We can adjust the brightness. I like to use the performance overlay, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn that on. Alright, so now that we're in SteamOS, let's go ahead and go to the desktop mode. We're going to install DeckyLoader, so that way we can install things like Simple Decky TDP. We can even add the FSR3 frame gen option. So another thing I like to do here is to change this to 200% for the display scaling, for the screen scaling. It won't show up right away, but at least next time we come back into desktop mode, we'll be able to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and return to gaming mode, which is going to take forever. But once we go back into desktop after this, the screen will be a little bit easier on the eyes because the Legion Go has a high resolution display, and so it doesn't look as comfortable when it's all zoomed out, at least for me. Alright, so we're going to want to go into our desktop. Now you'll see all of our icons are zoomed in, things are a little bit easier to interpret. We're going to open a terminal program called Console. So we'll click on this start button looking thing here, and then go in the search bar and type console with a K. And as soon as you start typing it, it'll auto-populate it here. And go ahead and click on that. And so we need to go ahead and set our password for our account, and our account username is Deck. So you'll type in PASSWD, hit enter, and it's going to ask us to type in our new password. And as we're typing it, you won't actually see any text on the screen, but it's typing. Alright, so our password's updated. And the next thing we're going to want to do is launch Firefox. So when you want to launch Firefox for the first time, it's not going to be installed. But when you click onto it, it's going to come up in the App Store, and we're going to select this option, Install from FlatHub. It takes just a few seconds depending on your internet connection. And so we can actually close this window or just go ahead and click Launch from here. I'm going to do that, and we're going to go to Google, and we're going to type in DeckyLoader. And the very first page that pops up is this DeckyLoader Steam Deck Homebrew. And the URL is decky.xyz. So we'll click there and then go to the download button here in the top right. Click on download. All right, so now we're going to go to our downloads folder, and we're going to double click this Decky installer. We're going to select the execute option. And now it's going to ask us for the password we just set. Okay, and so this is a very important step right here. By default, the release version of DeckyLoader will be used. We need the pre-release version because we're on the main development branch and we're using either preview or beta depending on your preference there. And then I'm just going to click pre-release and then click OK. And it's doing some stuff. It finished installing. And so now we're going to go back to Google and we're going to search for Simple Decky TDP. Hit enter. We're going to go down, we're going to click into Aaron Lee's Simple Decky TDP plugin. And Aaron's been so kind to maintain this. What this is going to allow us to do is when we hit this side button right here, it's going to bring up a menu that lets you pick your plugins from DeckyLoader, and we can set our TDP and various CPU options. And so we're going to go all the way down to the quick install option here and click this to copy the text, and we're going to go back to our console and we're going to paste this in there and paste, and then hit enter, and it's going to ask for our password. Installation is complete. And so the next thing we're going to want to do is go back to our browser, go back to Google, and let's search for Decky Hue Sync. And this very first search result is the one we want, this RGB control. And so this is another DeckyLoader plugin that's going to allow us to adjust sliders to be able to control our RGB lighting on our controllers here. So we're going to go down to the one-step installation here, click on that, and we're going to paste it in our terminal. Hit enter, and it's done. And so now we're going to just reboot the console so that the next time we're boot into SteamOS, we can actually access Decky. This might not be required, but I like to do this just in case things need a chance to, services need to be initialized, things of that nature. So type in reboot in your console and hit enter, and it's going to reboot. And I don't know what happened with this preview, but the boot time is atrocious here. So that's something they're probably going to fix. Alright, so we're back in, and look at this. This brings up the side options, and now we've got this little plugin icon down there. That's the DeckyLoader. And so I'm going to go ahead and set up my Simple Decky TDP. I like to put GPU in range mode, and the minimum TDP is 5, and I like to set my max to 35. A couple other options here. I like to enable APU slow limit, enable background polling. I like to set that option. I like to enable manual CPU controls. This will unlock the CPU governor. So I like to set everything to performance, but you can actually pick this top level one and just set it to performance. But that looks good. So another plugin that I like to use is this Decky FrameGen. If you go in here and search for Decky FrameGen, this will give you the option for DirectX 12 games that have NVIDIA Deep Learning Super Sampling for frame generation. This will inject FSR3 frame generation in that option within the game, so it will patch your game. So you have to click install the mod here, and then I don't have any games downloaded yet, but I show it in a different video how we set it up for Diablo. You should definitely check it out. It definitely improves our frame rates. But there you have it, everything's set up now. Now we got everything set up on our Legion Go. It's running SteamOS. Now remember, it's a beta. Now one thing that's happened in the last few days while we've been making this video is that the preview channel now has so many of the updates that were needed from the beta channel that you could actually, and I would recommend, just staying on the preview channel. We actually annotated the video earlier. Even though we were showing you to use the main channel with the beta update, I would recommend staying on the preview if you want to ride the SteamOS beta until it hits release. That might be the smoothest experience to transition to the full release. Now this video was a lot of work. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all the cool gaming tips, tricks, and mods we've got coming down the pipeline.